Hey guys, it's Ron again. I was asked by Kevin Weber, who is half of the Double Take podcast crew, that asked if I would maybe do some clarifications or instruction video on some things that he still is trying to understand. He just got the golf game, and he asked if I could maybe help out. So he's asking about things like what's on the golfer's card, in specific, like the different areas down here. Let me get my pencil. He's asking about, momentum, bounce back, sand, scramble, how those things are used. And so, I'm going to go through and tell you from what I know that I'm pretty sure is correct on how those things are applied. And we can start by just going to the inside page of the latest rule book. And as long as we're here, let's look at the first two, momentum and bounce back. And the way these are used is if your golfer birdies a hole, you then on the next hole can say, I want to use a momentum point. As you can see that during the 18-hole round, Rory can use a momentum point 3 times, and Jack can use a momentum point 2 times. So anytime they get a birdie, they can say, go ahead and say, I'm going to use a momentum point. And what a momentum point does is allow you to use their average WI on the next tee. So you can see average WI following a birdie or better. The big thing here is you cannot aim or work the ball. So what does that mean? And sometimes it's advantageous, and you can take advantage of it, and other times it may not be. And I've got a couple examples here. Jack's average W is a 3. And if we look at the Woods chart, we're going to see that on a 3, he's going to go 270, left 15 with a roll of 30. And remember, when you use the average W, when you roll your average W, you're allowed to reduce your left-right yardage by 5 yards. So let's look and see an example here for Jack of when it would be applicable. Okay, so here's number 8 at Los Angeles. If we go down here and look, remember I said he's going to land, if I wanted to see if his average W would work, well, 270 right here, left 10, and then a roll of 30, and this is where he would end up on all his average W's, 300, left 10. Makes perfect sense for him to want to try to use a momentum point here. A lot of other things that factor in are if there's a wind that would not make this advantageous, you might not play it. And there are other times with the whole layout that it wouldn't be advantageous to use the average W also. And I'm going to show you one of those. Let's take hole 7 at Los Angeles, and let's see where he would be if I used my average W there. And so remember, the flight of the ball is going to go 270, left 10, which in this case is going to put him right on the edge of that trap. Well, with the first roll, he's going to be in the trap. And in this case, I probably would forego using a momentum point here, because if I roll the dice, I might get a result that sends him to the right side of the fairway. Or I might even use a 3-wood here to try to stay clear of the trap here. So that's an example. Again, a momentum point can be used after a birdie, and you just cannot work the ball or aim. So you just have to, when you take those into account, you just have to see where that shot would take you and decide then whether you want to use it or not. A bounce back point is exactly the same thing as a momentum point, except you use that when you bogey a hole. So if you bogey a hole, you can decide on the next one to use a bounce back point, and it works the same way as momentum. You use the average W, and you decide to see, whether it makes sense or not to use it or not. Rory, I wanted to show you this. Rory is his average W is a 2. If we look on a chart here, he's going to go 280, and with the average W, we'd go right 10 and then a roll of 30. So here's an example of when it wouldn't work out for him on hole number 15 at Los Angeles. If we go down here, if we look 280 in the air is right there, right 10, but then if he keeps rolling, he's going to roll in the trap. And again, that's a good case of why he probably wouldn't want to use a momentum point or a bounce back point on this particular hole. So that's how you use both momentum and bounce back. I hope that's clear. The other couple areas is the sand rating on each card. And Jack has 0, so it doesn't apply to him. But Roy has 1 sand point. And the way you use those, the way you can use that is, let's say that Roy is in the sand trap right here. And after, usually when you're in the sand, you have to roll on the green side trap chart. You roll there before you hit the first shot, and because it says roll here first. And if you're lucky, you're going to get just one of this result area here, which says normal shot from the sand. But sometimes you roll the higher numbers, you can get results that probably aren't going to be very desirable. Or even if you get a normal shot from the sand, that's under Barry Fry. Yeah. So you may not want to take that chance, especially with the hole. So by using a sand point, what that allows you to do is basically turn that trap shot into being like you were just chipping from the fairway. So instead of using the sand portion of the approach shot or chip shot, you would just use the fairway. So it gives you a break. You don't have to worry about the greenside trap chart. And if you've got any points, why not use them during the course of the round? So a sand point just switches you from having to use the sand chart, sand trap lie chart, and the sand portion of the chart you're using for the shot, and switch it just to like it's a regular shot from the fairway, just like if you were sitting there instead. So that's how the sand point works. Scramble is the guy's ability to get out of trouble or make a good shot when he's in trouble. And Scramble is used on all the charts, except in one case just a little differently. But for Scramble, Scramble is used on the charts for intermediate rough and rough. They are also used for the fairway bunker and greenside bunker charts, and they are also used on the tree charts. So all the lie charts and you can use Scramble. And the way that works is, and let's use Jack. He's got a Scramble of 2. Let's say I'm rolling on the rough chart. When I roll the dice, in this case I got a 26, and of course that's going to be a great result for him, right? But let's say Jack rolled 56 instead. Well, if we come down to 56, that's not a great one. Let's say he rolled 53. Let's say he rolled a 53. Well, if I come to 53, you can see that it's going to be hit shot, then roll under questionable lie column. Not a great result for you. But because his Scramble is 2, I can instead decide to use 52, the result from 52 or 51, which in this case are the same, but sometimes they are different. So the Scramble, all it allows you to do is look at the options or the results from that many from the dice. In this case 2, so I could look at results. In this case, I'd probably take this. I would take the fluffy lie. I will gain +5 from the roll of whatever shot, versus having to hit the shot and then roll under this lie, which I don't know what's going to happen. So again, that's how Scramble is applied. So you subtract the Scramble number for the intermediate rough the rough, your fairway bunkers, your greenside bunkers, and what I've done is just write scramble, subtract at the bottom as a reminder. But for the tree chart, it's the opposite. Instead of subtracting, you add that number. And the great thing about these is sometimes, in this case for Jack, if he rolled 64 or 65, it would move him up to the 66 area. In this case, he'd get a break, and instead of worrying about shooting from the trees, it's like the trees disappeared, and now he just gets to use a regular shot from the fairway. So that's how those 4 items are applied during the course of the game. The clutch is for, I think, match play. And since we don't do match play very often, let's see. There's only 3 holes. Yeah, so match play. We even though we do match play at the end of the year, we don't. At least I haven't used them in that for the TGA. So that is Scramble, momentum point, sand, and bounce back. Now the other thing Kevin asked was maybe approach shots and how they work. And so I'll go ahead and yes, as far as on the charts, these results, what they were in. And these are the distances from your target point, I'd call it, or aim point. And it's in yards. And you do roll the dice to get this result. And when you roll the dice, you use the A column on the player's card. And as an example, I'm going to pull something out here a little bigger. I'm going to pull a chart here. And let's say Jack was sitting right there. And let's say we're shooting at pin 6, just for an example. Well, because I am on the short side of the short-sighted due to the rules, first thing I have to do is move my marker back to the center line. And now I count distance, how far I want to shoot the shot. In this case, we can go from here to here, 60, 70, 80, 90 yards. I probably want to, try to aim for this point. So the distance of my shot is going to be 90. And I could, because I'm in the 75 to 100 yard range, I could try to work the ball, but I'm not going to. I don't usually do that. So my aim point's here. So I've picked out what I'm shooting for, and all you do is roll the dice. Okay, Jack rolled a 45. Let's go to the approach column of his card. 45 is a 5. So now we go to the chart. Underneath 5 is the result is -5, left 5. And what that means is, you remember my aim point was right here. So -5 would be 5 yards back, 5 left would be here. So the shot would end up right there in front of the 6 pin, like this. Good shot. And then for the putt, it's one grid is 15 feet. You roll the 2 dice and subtract it, and that's your final putt distance. And that's how you use the approach charts. I mean, aiming's a different thing. If I was back there again, if I go back to this area, and let's say the pin was 1, 2, or 3, I could, because I'm not short-sighted, I could move my ball marker anywhere along these lines, and maybe I wanted to shoot straight for pin number 1. So I could move it right there in line with 1. You have to remember, though, because I moved it 5, 10, 15, I'd have to back up, add 5 yards to the shot distance. I'd be at, I think the same distance here. There's 50, 60, 70, 80. Now, I'd be at 95 yards. Now, one thing always I take into consideration is if you hit a good shot, most of your results are going to be ±5 and ±5 right or left. So I always look at the 9 points or the 8 points around where I'm aiming. In this case, one of those could end up, if I was 5 short and 5 right, I'd end up in the sand. I'd probably take a look at Nicholas's card on the approach and see if there was a lot of possibilities for me going -5 left, or 5 and 5 left. And let's just do that real quick. In fact, if I roll a 2, 5, or 8, I'm going to have that -5 and 5 left. I don't think Jack has too many of those. In fact, I don't see any on his cards. Oh, I do see some 5s. So I'd have to worry about that. It's quite a few 5s, at least 4 right there that I see offhand. In that case, if I was worried about going in a trap and I want to make sure I got in the green with a normal shot, I might aim 5 yards farther. Now, instead of 95 yards, I'm 100, but I'm still within that 75 to 100 yard chart. And so this became my reference point for the results off of the chart. So that is everything I think Kevin asked for. And obviously, just like any of my videos, I welcome feedback. If I've made a mistake, please let me know. And we'll go from there. Thanks, guys.